we're finishing a speech that we began yesterday with Lubavitcher Rebbe about CHANUKA. And the Rebbe explains a very interesting thing. This is a speech that the Rebbe gave in 1952, just 2 years after he assumed the leadership of the Chabad movement. And I mean, it actually was a little bit less than 2 years. So the Rebbe explains like this. Ask a question. We see something very interesting in the holiday of Chanukah. First of all, almost everybody does it. And secondly, everybody does it, even non-religious Jews, and they do it in the most special of special ways. In fact, in Chanukah, the lighting of the Chanukah candles is the only commandment in Judaism that has such a, how do you say, a category of being special of the special. Mhadrin mina Mhadrin. Mhadrin, some places to make food kosher, so they borrowed this term, but it really doesn't mean anything. They just use it to impress you that they're really, really serious. But officially, the only commandment that there is this possibility of being Mhadrin mina Mhadrin, being special of the special, religious of the religious. Well, religious of the religious, or you want to call it fanatic of the fanatic. Fanatic is not a nice word, but that's the fact. To be the crazy of the crazies, right? Special of the specials. Mhadrin mina Mhadrin is by the lights of Hanukkah. We talked about that. What's the, we spoke yesterday. We defined what this means. The main commandment of lighting Hanukkah candles is just one candle every night. That's all. The first night, the whole family, the whole household, each household. The first night, there's one candle for the whole household. The second night, one candle. The third night, one candle. You don't add lights. You don't have, not everybody has to light. One candle per house per night. So that you can't tell the difference if you're driving down the street, whether it's the 8th night of Hanukkah or it's the first night of Hanukkah, how many people are in the house. You have absolutely no idea. You just know every house has one candle. That's the commandment. And if you're in a situation like that, that's what you do. I'll tell you, there was a time when I was in a situation like that. We did Hanukkah lighting in a jail in Israel. And the prisoners were Jews. So we went to each, it was like the last night of Hanukkah. So each room we went and we lit 8 rooms. But there was one room at the end we didn't notice. And they said, hey, what about us? What about us? They were yelling through this little hole in the door. And they were at the end of the hall, and it was like a little bit indented, the door, so we didn't see them. They said, okay, what do? We have to go, but we only have one candle. That's all we have, one candle for the whole room. I said, that's enough. That's all you have to have, one candle. We did. Oh, they were happy. It was quite inspiring, the fact of the matter was, because as we lit their candle and we danced with them, we walked back and we looked in all the other rooms, and the place had become so calm that they didn't even close the doors. I don't know, maybe that's at that time they don't close the doors. I don't know what it was. But we looked in, and what they had done, they pushed the bunk beds. They had triple bunk beds, and they pushed them so that they were around the Chanukah candles. And they put the Chanukah candles in the middle of the room, and they were all, the prisoners were all just sitting around and looking at the candles. You saw the yellow light illuminating the faces of these prisoners, and they looked like little children. The look in their face was just, quiet. They were just quiet and just like, how do you say, entranced, like a little child that sees something for the first time. They're just. But in any case, that was not the point I wanted to make. The point I wanted to make is that one candle is enough for every night. That's it, one candle. Then there's people who do the Mhadrin. The Mhadrin is that every person in the house, every male in the house, they light one candle every night. Every night, one candle. Another opinion is that everyone in the house, they change number of candles every night. The first night 1, the second night 2, the third night 3. That's only for the special, the fanatic of this fanatic. But interestingly enough, everybody does it. That's the way that everyone does the commandment. First night 1, second night. So the Rebbe explains why. How did this happen? Why is this? So the Rebbe said like this. There's 3 ways to do a commandment. There's you do the commandment, then you have what's called a Hebrew commandment. You add on to the commandment. And then there's what's called self-sacrifice. Self-sacrifice. Commandments do not demand that they be done in a special way. And they certainly don't demand that you should have self-sacrifice. And even more, if you do self-sacrifice, it means you forget about yourself totally. You, so to speak, don't get no benefit out of it. If you do the commandment in a special way, let's say you have tefillin, instead of spending $500 for tefillin, you spend $5,000 for tefillin. You spend $50,000 for tefillin, right? You get the best sofer in the and you buy the tefillin that were used by the Baal Shem Tov, $1 million tefillin, right? Still, you only did a hiddur mitzvah. You're still increasing the commandment. There's no self-sacrifice involved there. An example, let's say, of self-sacrifice would be that you saw that there was a person that needed tefillin, you gave him your tefillin. So you didn't have any tefillin, so you didn't get anything out of it. But even then, maybe you can say that you got something out of it. Self-sacrifice usually means the simple meaning is that you're willing to give your life for it. And that was what happened with the lights of Chanukah. Because the lights of Chanukah, that they were willing to give their lives so that the commandment should be done in the proper way. So therefore, it came out that the commandment we do is not just Hidrum, it's Mhadrin mina Mhadrin. It's the crazy of the crazies. And not only that, that crazy of the crazies happens to be found in every Jew. And not only is it found in every Jew, that is the essence of every Jew. The essence of every Jew is that they care nothing about themselves. All they want is the truth. That's all they want. And they're willing to sacrifice everything for the truth. That's the essence of the Jewish people. It happens to be what is the truth, that there's a creator. The creator gave the Torah, and the creator wants us to do his commandments. And always remember him, the creator, that they're not the commandments of Moses or the commandments of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. They're the commandments of the creator himself, God himself. And even more, the creator, that's, so to speak, a lower aspect of God, that God gave the Torah. That's the reason why he created the world. And that's what the Greeks wanted the Jews to forget. And that's what the Jews were willing to sacrifice their lives for. And therefore, there's another speech by the Rebbe where he says that there's the commandment, lighting the candles, commandment. Then there's Hiddur mitzvah. Hiddur mitzvah means that because there was no other oil, they could have lit the candles impure. That's the law. It was possible, permissible. They didn't have to make a war or a battle or anything just for pure oil. They could have done it. That would have been what we call a Hiddur mitzvah. But instead, they risked their lives so that the oil would be totally kosher without any question. You wouldn't have to use the Torah in order to say that really it's not kosher, but there's a law in the Torah that we can make it kosher through that law. No. So therefore, Chanukah is a crazy holiday. It's a holiday where they risk their lives in order to do a commandment the craziest of the craziest ways. And that's why it is that everyone, first of all, it's so popular lighting candles, because that's found in every Jew, this crazy of crazies, number one. And number two, because it was done with self-sacrifice, so that therefore every Jew does the commandment in the special of the special ways, not just one for each household or one for each person, but adding on, each person adds on every night. Azoi v'Chanukah, just like in Chanukah, Zayin and Yidden, the Jews are Kishtanen mit Nesiras Nefesh. The Jews stood when the Jews stood with self-sacrifice, as therefore is demol given. Then it was their nays, the miracle from the oil oif zu beweisen, to indicate to us, chiyuvosam, shall Yisrael, the dearness of the Jewish people, how much the Jews love God and how much God loves the Jews. Was es hat nitkein sheichas, which is totally not connected to any inyanim from Mitzius. It's not connected to anything from their own existence. They're willing to relinquish their own existence, their own being, for the sake of the Torah. Durach dem inyan, by means of this, durach dem inyan from hidurim. If, for instance, doing the commandments in a special way, is the hanhaga from nisim, and the way of doing miracles is lamayla mina metzias. It is lamayla miteva. It's above nature. Go. Paul, you did not come that late. I started 5 minutes ago, so good. Here we go. I came late. As durach them in but durach mesirus nefesh. When a person does a hiddur mitzvah special, so that means he increases, he becomes a very super religious person. But by self-sacrifice, was erleg the vexai metzius, which he puts aside his own whole existence in ganzen totally, is the hanhaga, then the conduct, milmaila, then the way that God reacts to such crazy conduct, where a Jew is willing to do, even sacrifice his life, to do the commandments the way they're supposed to be done. So God therefore reacts and he conducts himself with the Jews in a way was is in ganzen higher nit nogeat zum Messias. It's not relevant to any sort of normal existence. A zoyach from zweite side, it's also from the other way. As the anhaga shalamayla, that when God starts and he acts in a way with us, which is not connected to any sort of an existence of our own, but it's godly. As Rufzi Avois, this arouses by the Jews an avekleg, how do you say, an attitude of self-sacrifice. So we have two things going on. Listen to this. Jews are in a bad situation. So Jews can say, listen, okay, God has left us and that's it. Let's just be normal. Come on, we're not fools. Jews are a smart nation. We can, you don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. You can see that God has left the Jews, so let's go. That's what all the other Jews thought in the time of the Greeks. But there were certain Jews that said, no, we don't care what God does to us. We don't care. God doesn't owe us anything. We are going to do the Torah and the commandments in the complete, whole, 100% way. What are we going to get out of it? I'm not even thinking in that direction whatsoever. It's not, what am I going to get out of it? That's not even a question by me. The question, my only question is, how can I get this thing done? I want the candles in the temple to be lit with pure oil. How can it be done? What happens to me is not my concern. If the Jews act in that way, then God also puts aside all concerns, and he loves the Jewish people unconditionally, and he shows it to them. That was the miracle of Purim, of CHANUKA. The majority of the Jews, there's a sikh I wanted to learn. I don't know if we're going to have time. The majority of the Jews, the vast majority of Jews, maybe 99% of the Jews, they all sided with the Greeks, either actively or passively. But they sided with the Greeks. The Greeks weren't such bad guys. They sided with the Greeks. And God saved them also. He made a big miracle for them to the degree that even nowadays, the Jews that side right now with the Greeks, God also has mercy on them. And God also shines for them and does big miracles with them. And when God does big miracles for them, then the Jews also act in a way of Mesiras Nefesh. And that's why all the Jews, even the non-religious ones, when they see, they have a feeling something's going on over here. So they light the candles, and they light it in a way of crazy of crazies. And only this self-sacrifice is by every Jew, afilu by akal shabakalim, even by the simplest of the simple. Then as darnemt him, as soon as it awakens in him, andrish vi in their inyan from Torah, tzedakah, which is not the case of Torah and charity. Some Jews give charity, learn Torah, and some Jews just can't. And some gives about charity, some Jews just can't. But self-sacrifice is present by every Jew. Therefore, is Chanukah was demelt, is given Hanhaga Lamaila. One second. There's letters missing, cut off. Okay. Therefore, Chanukah, which God conducted himself in a way which is from above, also to show Chivus Israel how much he loves the Jews, was thus haben Yidden ausgerufen durch Mesiras Nefesh. God showed how much he loved the Jews. Why? They won this battle and they found the bottle of oil. Why? Because they were willing to sacrifice their lives. And how many were willing to sacrifice? Like I said, it was only 13 of them. But nevertheless, he did a miracle for everybody. Hadas Arois Rufen, when God did do the miracle, and this called forth by the Jews, this Mhadrin min Mhadrin, the special of the special, the crazy of the crazies. Nitnor Kima mitzvahs, not just doing the commandments like they should be done, or to doing the mitzvahs in a special way, nor but what? Mhadrin min Mhadrin, special of the special, crazy of the crazies, to leave yourself totally aside and not thinking about yourself at all, total surrender to the truth. And therefore, is in Ner Chanukah, the light in Chanukah, is in the lights of Chanukah, Faran their Inyan from Mhadrin min Mhadrin. That's why this is the only commandment that has the special of the special, Mhadrin min Mhadrin. Was es is nita by under, which this is not by any other commandments. When all the Yidden, not only that, and all the Jews, haben das angenommen, and all the Jews, they took on themselves that when you do Chanukah, you do it the crazy of the crazies, the special of the specials. While them ganzen Inyan, but the whole idea of Chanukah, the whole holiday is Mhadrin min Mhadrin. It's the special of the special. Bittul and ganzen, total surrender. Well, this is the Inyan Shom Mesiras Nefesh, but this is the whole idea of self-sacrifice. Okay, listen, there's another sikh of the Rebbe, and I think I'll give it over, but let's stop this and we'll do here. Stop the share.